What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about what the best bolt-ons are for the 8th Gen SI and what order you should do your mods in to get you the best power in the fastest way. So I'll go through a list. If I were to do everything over again, this is exactly how I would do it. So make sure you guys stay tuned for all the parts I'm about to list for you. Make sure you guys drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That really helps out. Other than that, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so this might be controversial, but I'm going to say the first mod you should get is HONDATA FLASHPRO. Definitely recommend that over K-Tuner if you're going to tune your car. But even just tuning the car when it's completely bone stock is going to make a huge difference in how it drives. You'll be able to eliminate that annoying rev hang that all the stock cars have. So you'll be able to shift a little bit faster and a little bit smoother. And you'll definitely notice the power band's going to be a lot smoother too. It'll definitely be a little faster, but we're really going to unlock that potential with the other bolt-ons I'm about to list off for you guys. So as soon as anyone gets a new car, they want to start messing with the exhaust, of course. So I'm going to make that my second mod. I would definitely recommend starting off with just saving up for a 3-inch exhaust. So they don't make the K-Tune exhaust anymore, which is what I have. But right now, there's a couple good options. You have the full race 3-inch exhaust, which that's been proven. That's a nice quiet exhaust. There's actually a replica of that sounds pretty much identical to it. Same design and everything. Hooks up with V-bands. It's super nice. That's the Rev 9 exhaust. So it's about half the price of the full race. I would definitely recommend going that route. Or if you have a specific muffler and resonator combo that you like, and you have a good custom shop around you, you can have someone custom make you a full 3-inch exhaust. But the easiest way to do it is going to be to order probably the Rev 9 or the full race, whatever you want. If you want to go with the name brand, you can. It's the same thing. If you want something a little bit louder than the full race or Rev 9, definitely go with the Skunk 2 Mega Power RR, 76mm, so that's a 3-inch catback. That's definitely going to make the car scream, especially if you get a header later on. So keep that in mind. If you don't like really loud exhaust, the Skunk 2 is almost as loud as they come. So pretty much right now, there's only 2 options on the market. You got a quiet one and a loud one. Whatever you guys prefer is up to you. But they're both going to work exactly the same as far as how much power they're going to make. It's going to completely open up the top end. By the way, when your car's completely stock or it's just stock with an exhaust, you'll be okay running the HONDATA base maps. If you want to get it custom tuned by me, you can, but to be honest, it should be all right on the HONDATA base maps if you don't change the intake or throttle body or anything like that. But the third mod I'm going to recommend is going to be a catless race header. So they're all pretty much the same for the most part. The most power that you can gain with the ones on the market now are going to be with the Skunk 2 Alpha header or the PLM V1 header. I personally have the V1. The only downside to that is there's a bunch of slip joints you have to line up, and it's kind of a pain to install. But the Skunk 2 Alpha comes partially put together, so that one's going to be a lot easier to install. Those are probably the 2 best headers out right now. There is a PLM V2 header, K-tuned header, and 1320 header, but those are all exactly the same. They're all similar. Those are still good headers, don't get me wrong. The runners are just a little bit shorter, so you're definitely going to get a little more mid-range with the bigger headers. So I definitely recommend a PLM V1 or a Skunk 2 Alpha if you're going for just straight power. That's definitely going to be your best bet. Most cars with a 3-inch exhaust and an Alpha header or something similar, or even the PLM V2, they're going to make similar to about right at 200 horsepower, maybe a little bit lower. That's with a custom tune. That's typically what those cars dyno at. All right, so now we're going to talk about intakes. You guys have probably been wondering why that hasn't been earlier on the list. But to be honest, there's been a couple cars that I've tuned with stock air boxes that have performed flawlessly, almost just as good as a short ram intake. So to be honest, it's not worth getting an intake unless you're going to get a 3.5-inch cold air, whether that be my static speed race intake or the hybrid racing 3.5-inch. Those are definitely going to be the 2 best intakes on the market because K-Series just really love a 3.5-inch intake. Some people even run 4 inches, but I don't really see the point of that because you can't have a throttle body that big anyways, most likely, unless you have some kind of crazy setup. But either way, I definitely recommend doing a 3.5-inch intake. And when you have intake, catless header, 3-inch exhaust, and HONDATA FLASHPRO with a static speed tune, you'll be pushing probably around 215, 218 or so. Somewhere in that range between 210 to 220 most likely. And then that'll pretty much wrap up the intake, header, and exhaust. A lot of people stop there. But for the 5th mod, the way to get to 220 is you're gonna have to replace the throttle body with a bigger one, especially if you're running a big 3.5-inch intake. You kind of want to be able to back it up with a similar size throttle body. It's okay if it's a little bit smaller, most likely it is gonna be. The best option would probably be either a K-Tune 72mm or a J37 throttle body. So those will work great. K-Tune throttle body is pretty expensive. J37 throttle body is about the same price, brand new. They're both very similar in size, but one thing about the J37 is you can actually get it from a junkyard. You can get a used one for about 80 to 100 bucks, buy the adapter plate that you need, and then you save a lot of money. Keep in mind, with these bigger throttle bodies, you are gonna have to port match the inlet of your intake manifold, which ours is an RBC, which is only like, I think it's 64 millimeters, so you definitely have to bore it out a little bit. Or if you don't feel like porting the inlet of the manifold, you can go with the J35 throttle body, because it's almost the exact same size as the RBC inlet. Like, if you were to port match it, you'd only be taking off like a millimeter maybe. So if you don't want to port it, you can run the J35 throttle body. I got mine from a junkyard for 30 bucks. So $30 throttle body is a great mod. The J35 is good enough for me. But either way, it's up to your preference and kind of how much work you want to put in to get to it. All right, guys, so that wraps it up. Those are the top 5 bolt-ons. That should get you to 220 wheel. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but general rule of thumb, those 5 mods will get you to 220 wheel with a proper tune. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to drop a like for me and stay tuned for my other uploads, and see you guys on the next one.